Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I am Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com. Happy to be here to talk about all things Tennessee Titans, brought to you by Edley's, the finest barbecue you will find in and around Nashville and maybe anywhere. Not that well traveled in barbecue, but I do love it here. Can smell the food getting going. They open at 11, so you should be planning your day, your weekend around getting yourself some delicious barbecue. I will be having a feast after the show is over. No, this team is miserable, but there is a lot to talk about. There continues to be a lot to talk about. Braden Gall has a piece up at the site. It's a shame that we must do it, but forward looking at Titans prospects, guys that they should be looking at for, draft potential. This team looks like a top 3 draft team. Don't see that changing, and potential for them to trade out because there are a lot of quarterbacks at the beginning of this draft who are going to be compelling for teams in need of a quarterback at the beginning of this draft. Ideal scenario for them. Welcome in. Thanks for coming. Good to see Gabe, who I know is going to be in Arizona. Long trip for this team. Hasn't traveled well, hasn't done anything well. But first trip west to Denver, they had a chance against a team that did not play well and did not live up to its billing. And the Titans did not do the things that they needed to do to take advantage of a team that did not play up to expectations. So off to Arizona they go. Here's what we're going to hit on today, and I've got some good stuff. Denard Wilson talking about defensive simplification, which seems to be coming a little bit late. Jim Fassel on what the Titans can gain out of these good practices. We made some fun of them for talking about how well they practiced on Thursday last week and how it didn't translate to Sunday. Holtz on Cam's inaccurate day. And what they can be doing about this. Cam was definitely part of the problem in the most recent loss in Houston. Inconsistent and having trouble with his feet. Bo Hard agree on the idea of presetting too aggressive, which I think the Titans should be doing. The idea of Cam moving more, and I think we're going to see that this week. I think we will see Cam Ward on the move. Cam also talking about Tajay Spears, who I expect will play this weekend. He may be on a pitch count coming off that ankle. He's just off IR, so he hasn't played in 4 weeks. But he's no hero. He's not going to come back and save the day for the Titans, but he is a guy that can give them a little of something that they didn't have. And Joey Slye talking us through his mechanical issues that prompted him to miss 2 kicks. Titans could have been 6-6 going into the fourth quarter. I don't know how much that would have changed, but they certainly feel like, hey, we were within 6 going into the fourth quarter. It could have been 6-6, and they'd like to keep score sometimes through 3 quarters. Jeffrey Simmons on what's going on with Tavondre Sweat, who's on IR, and maybe Condre Diggs talking about Budda Baker, the great safety on the other side of this game. So we'll get to all of that and more, and certainly your questions. Good to see Lee and Aaron in here as well. Thank you for coming. Let's get into a little bit of this. I think Cam Ward on the move is maybe the biggest deal. The Titans have to find ways to help Cam Ward feel like the guy who plays so well when the team, when plays break down and he scrambles around. Those are the plays that we've seen, the throwback plays to Isle Manor. There have been 2 or 3 of those that have been very effective. They count as the biggest plays the Titans have made, and one of their touchdowns. How do you mimic that? The off-script plays have been the best plays. How do you make yourself feel on script when you're so desperate to be on script and to stay on script? And one of the ways you do that is by putting them on the move. Now, the downside, quote unquote downside, I don't feel like there's really a downside, but when you put him on the move, you're cutting the field in half, you're giving him fewer options, you're taking things away, and it can be perceived as dumbing things down for Cam Ward. Now, I don't think they're not doing it to dumb things down for Cam Ward. You wouldn't be doing it to dumb things down for Cam Ward. You're not conceding or saying that Cam Ward cannot handle what you're doing. You're merely looking for ways for him to be a more effective player for you. And so I don't think that they need to fear that things are that they're somehow cutting off Cam Ward's learning process or growth by doing things in game that give him a better chance of success in the moment. So, there's middle ground there for the Titans to continue to ask him to do things from the pocket, to continue to hit his reads, but also to give him mix in a higher share of plays that will allow him a better chance of success. It will allow them a better chance of extended drives, which they do not put together, right? Excuse me. I saw a quote from Peyton Manning about how, or reference to a quote from Peyton Manning about how skipping your first read as a rookie to get to your second read more quickly because that second read is going to be open and not a healthy part of growing up as a quarterback. And so, I was kind of contemplating that, like, if that he is such a if that Isle Manor on the backside is going to be open and Ridley on the front side as the first option is not going to be open, maybe I hinted at the idea that they should just, quickly bypass Ridley or, rewrite the progressions so that the Isle Manor part of that is one. But I know it's not that simple. And there are things about the Ridley route being the first route that help make Isle Manor, the potential for him be better. And the prospects of him being open as the two on the read be better. So I'm not saying that's the solution. The solution is he's got to get off the first read quicker and get to the second read. But they've got to get the whole thing moving faster, get the feet better. He definitely had some severe footwork problems against Houston that really cost him some accuracy. And 16 incompletions, there were 2 or 3 throwaways. But a lot of these other balls were just not well placed. The interception, he's both off platform and throwing crazily sidearm to Isle Manor, who's got to reach behind him while he's going this way. He's reaching that way. That's just a completely ineffective throw with no chance to catch it. And it gets deflected and it gets picked, and it's a bad setup for the whole team and the defense. It starts the downfall. And he has time there to, throw from a better place on the move or to stop and set. And I think it's a good time here to go to Nick Holtz on this inaccurate
stuff. It always comes down to footwork, right? So footwork and timing, right? So if his footwork's on the same way and he's kind of doing it as prescribed, and I think, when you're in the heat of the battle and things start moving fast and all of a sudden, you start moving faster and your feet move faster than your mind, all of a sudden, those inaccuracies show up. And then I think there's also sometimes he's just trying to force a play. He wants to, that's kind of his superpower. It was his superpower in college. And there's those 1st and 10 on the, interception that you're talking about. And that's a play that if you just scramble or you kind of settle there and maybe throw right to the guy, those are plays that he looks back at and goes, okay, that's one I missed, and I got to be kind of calmer in that presence.
Settle there. He needs to settle there instead of being as he's not herky-jerky. He looks smooth while he's doing it, but he's not settling. And the lack of settling between his feet and his arm lead to a bad throw. and that's not good enough. And he's part of the problem right now. Though I like his, I like what he has to say after the game. I think it's kind of BS. I understand like the hey, shut up, rookie element. One of my 22 is talking about Peyton being told that and understanding it, but I don't think this team has enough around Cam Ward to ask him to have a quiet rookie season. And nobody else is saying the things that he's saying that need to be said. And we ask, maybe it's not for the ears of the prudish, but it's the truth. And other people aren't expressing it with the fire and the amplitude that Cam Ward is. And who's Cody Barton to say, you don't say that. Yeah. Maybe if Cody Barton shows up and makes some of the plays that they're paying him to make, then he would have more authority. But who should this team be listening to now? Cam Ward or Cody Barton? Lee Jordan, how are you? Am I saying just let Cam be Cam? I'm saying they need to do more of that. Yeah. Well, I don't think he was running, with reckless abandon, running things with reckless abandon at Miami. It was not an unstructured offense, but this offense at times feels overly structured. Logan Grady, how are you? I mentioned on a football show about Sweat potentially being moved. Can I elaborate? You snuck it in there very quickly. I did not say, or if I did, it was a mistake. Sweat's not getting moved. I mentioned that I don't think he's in good graces, and I'm not sure he's on next year's team. That's different than him being moved. I don't think that they're looking to move him this year, and I don't think they would get much for him. He can't turn. I mean, turning Brownlee a fifth into a jump from the 7th to the 6th is bad. You cannot turn Sweat, a second-round pick, into a 6th-round pick. And there are a certain segment of the league that wasn't interested in T'Vondre Sweat coming out of the league who are going to continue to be uninterested. So I don't look for T'Vondre Sweat to be traded. Hey, Demetrius. Jordan says, today's my son's 2nd birthday. Am I a bad father for raising him as a Titans fan? On the one hand, it's a bond and a good lesson in patience and embracing the suck. But on the other hand, it's abuse. Well, look, he's 2. He doesn't know what's going on. By the time he's old enough to know what's going on, they could have turned things around. Things are cyclical. They're not going to be bad forever, though that's hard to believe. And so, we'll see. But I mean, it's his hometown team. It's hard not to root for his hometown team and to come up for some rationale for him to root for another team that's not on local TV every week, though that may be changing. And to pick somebody else is unnatural. I'm all for kids growing up rooting for their hometown teams. I wrote about Demetrius, what Barton and Simmons said with regard to what Cam said, and that people should be listening to Cam. Cam shouldn't be listening to people. I mean, he should listen to people, but if they're telling him not to say what he said, he shouldn't be listening to them. And Barton said, you can't say that. You can't say that. One day, Howie's going to walk in here and just give me a big old hug. Sounds a little scary. How many more weeks? Man, I've got a cough. How many more weeks of bad play do I think Amy will let happen before a move is made? Will Brian last the entire season? I think it's entirely possible that Brian will last the entire season, or that Brian will last to 2 or 3 games left where firing your coach gives you a head start. The league lets you start looking. Now you can make contact with people who are not in the league. You can't start the process with people who are in the league, but that's the advantage of being in an interim situation late. I don't think they're in a hurry. I think they're going with the patience that they pledged. And look, changing to an interim could give them a bump, but what's the big deal about a bump? I mean, they're clearly a team that's going to draft high, and they're fine with that. When you have a second, can I have a Diet Coke with a lemon, please? Thank you very much. How about my Yankees? Bye-bye, Boston. It's an interesting thing. If you've got a giant rival and you beat them, the mix of your elation for your winning and the elation for your rival losing. And it's equal parts, man. I mean, losing to Boston is the worst thing that can happen in a Yankee fan's world. And they won, they beat Boston, but they did not lose to Boston. And those are equal measure good things. So happy man. It was a great game to watch. Cam Schlittler threw an awesome game. And I did anticipate, I mean, I never really wear it because you don't want to be optimistic in that situation. But I thought our rookie pitcher was better than their rookie pitcher, and it certainly proved out to be that way. How does the one guy who is taking accountability take flack from the team? Jeff Simmons said that he shouldn't say that, etc. Simmons said, they had a private conversation and everybody has their own leadership style, but the inherent in what he said was, he should be a little different than he was. Callahan talked about maturity and figuring things out. Here's the thing. Who cares if that gets picked up and played all over the place? Why do the Titans care what people say about them? They shouldn't give two shits. They complain all the time. They're not talked about. And now they complain that Cam saying we ass is getting picked up when it's a completely honest assessment. Completely honest assessment. Over under 3 sacks for Calais Campbell this week. Never quite pans out exactly as you expect. Thank you so much. And so I think, I think Arizona will rush. I think the Titans did figure some things out last week. They managed for Cam to only be sacked twice against Hunter and Anderson, a pretty good pairing. And so that was pretty good news. Pretty good news. The protection was better. Here, Denard Wilson, very low-key this week, seems kind of depressed. Everybody seems kind of depressed. But the direction the defense is heading is towards simplification. And that sounds good. You don't want things to be overly complicated. It's bad if things have been overly complicated. The Titans shouldn't be overly complicated on defense. The thing is, if they play more simply, they're relying on their talent more. And so there's a reason they got complicated is because they're not very talented. And so Denard is going to scale things back and make things more simple. And I fear what you see out of a more simple Titans defense is a defense that's, clearly losing one-on-one matchups and getting beat on talent.
At the end of the day, if they're not playing well, it's on me. And if they're not playing well because we have too many multiple coverage, I'd rather be simple, keep it simple, where they can execute, they can be where they're supposed to be, and play with violence. And right now, I'm kind of at that point. And, we're not going to make any excuses. It's time for us to play 4 quarters of good football and not just 2 or 3. We got to put it together. And the sense of urgency is there from all of us, and that's what we're going to do. We're not wavering from it. It's still early in the season. And from my perspective, all we can do is get better, and we will.
He's confident that they're going to get better. And, from the perspective of it can't get much worse, I think it's there. But they have certain guys. I mean, Draymond Jones, when's the last time you heard his name? Jihad Ward. He does some things inside, but when's the last time you heard his name? We've had press room discussions. Who's the second best guy on the Titans defense behind Simmons? Should be Hooker. Hooker hasn't played very well. It's hard to find a name. Who are guys who are the problem, who are guys who are the solution. It's a lot easier to find guys who are the problem than it is to find guys who are the solution, which makes things incredibly frustrated. Go ahead and retweet if you're out there. We can round up a little bit bigger of a crowd and have an even better conversation. Howie says, it seems personalities like Cam are the ones the Titans need but are unwilling to retain. I file Ward in the same area as Malarkey, Vrabel, and even Brownlee. Why won't Tennessee retain strong leaders? I don't know if I'd put Malarkey in that category, though he was pretty straightforward. Vrabel, certainly. Brownlee, you can't pop off that much if you're busy committing a whole bunch of penalties. You can't pop off that much if you're saying, I appreciate his honesty, but he says, look, I'm going to be the only guy that tells you this, but it was cold out there in Washington when it was 44 degrees. I mean, that was pretty stunning when that happened. Brandon apparently has issue with my Diet Coke with lemon. I have no shame in Diet Coke with lemon. Lemon takes the edge off Diet Coke a little bit, takes the fake taste away a little bit. It's delicious. I drink it too much. Cedric Gray, the spy this week. Conceivably, I mean, your spy has to be able to run with the guy he's spying on, And I don't know that the Titans have a spectacular spy, but I might prefer it to be safety. The Titans safeties aren't the fastest guys in the world. I'll tell you one guy hasn't gotten enough credit, who's made some big tackles and some big plays, is Xavier Woods. That's a guy I think is doing a good job for the Titans, generally playing well for the Titans, and he deserves more credit that he's got. What is Sweat's problem and prognosis for return? I mean, I think his toe will be back to normal or healthy when his 4 weeks are over. What are we, 2 weeks into it? I think we're 2 weeks into it. But I think he's fallen into some of the habits that were things that teams weren't wild about coming out of the draft. So we're going to find out how he's eating, how hard he's working, what his commitment level is, and things like that when he returns. And I think there may be some concerns about that. We'll see how he plays when he gets back. I think, and I've said this somewhere, for all Rand Carthon's faults, some of these guys he drafted, Brownlee and Sweat in particular, were guys that he and Anthony Robinson, one of his right-hand men, were able to relate to very well. And so the Titans got the best out of those guys while Rand was with them, and maybe not the best out of them when Rand is not with them. But that says something about, you're drafting a very specific kind of guy who needs a very specific kind of situation, your situation. And he's maybe better with you, but not as good with anybody. And wouldn't you like your guy to draft a player who's a good player no matter what, and doesn't need you? Kevin Winston limited this week still, and it sure does seem to be taking a long time. I also wonder if they're stalling a little bit there as a way of protecting Diggs, because what happens when Kevin Winston is ready? What happens to Condre Diggs? Though Mike Brown is also hurt this week. He's a good special teamer. Kevin Winston could come in and fill that role. But I think it's a very significant roster question. I think Diggs is an important glue guy, veteran type, but he's clearly the guy whose role would be sacrificed to Kevin Winston. And that's one of those moves that kind of has to be made, but also and I think the locker room has to understand that young and more faster and energetic talent. Not questioning Diggs' energy or anything. I think Diggs plays his ass off, but that's a big transition there. And Diggs is a popular dude, so I wonder how that goes over. They shouldn't be resisting anything there, but gotta wonder if it's any kind of factor. Oh, you're asking if Diet Coke with lemon is good. You've never had it. Yeah, it's great. Hindsight is 2020. Derek says about Sweat. Did the Titans still draft Sweat in the second round? In his opinion, it was a ran overreach. I agree. I mean, I don't think Sweat is a good enough pass rusher to warrant being a second round pick. And then you've got, your last 2 second round picks who you need to be involved in the pass rush, not in the pass rush. Sweat's not out there, and he hasn't yet proven that he can be a steady contributor to the pass rush. And Oladejo is a project who's done absolutely nothing yet. So, 2 second round picks, and what kind of contribution in the pass rush? Virtually nothing. Not very good. Let's go back to the offense for a second. I'm of the opinion that this team should preset itself to aggressive. The game plan should be preset to aggressive. The calls during the game should be default to aggressive. Any kind of choice you've got between aggressive and conservative, go aggressive. But I asked Bo Hardigree about this, and here's what he said.
Preset to be aggressive. You got to go in with a plan, and you got to execute your plan, and that's what you spend all week going into. There's a time and a place, depending on the game, depending on the situation, where you want to be aggressive. Maybe personnel based, maybe offense, defense, who we have in the game. But, there's a time and a place for that. But I think you kind of go and stick to your game plan.
Stick to the game plan. So make the game plan a little bit more aggressive. Make the game plan a little less conservative. Maybe putting Cam on the move will have an impact on them. Maybe that will make them somehow more aggressive. I don't know, but it would be great if it did. They could certainly use that help. And it doesn't make sense for a bad team to be as conservative as they've been. And I think everybody's frustrated with that. Like, why not? Why not have a go? I'm at Edley's Barbecue. Edley's 12 South. We've got another one in Nolansville, another one in Franklin at the factory, another one in Franklin at Berry Farms, kind of my home base. Another one in Sylvan Park, East Nashville, Donaldson, Gallatin. One of those is somewhere near you. You need to go there and eat. Food is fantastic. The brisket's tremendous. I get the avocado plate, get some healthy in there. The side dishes are tremendous. Desserts. Portions are big. Prices are reasonable. The staff is tremendous. Is this Ryan over here? Ryan. Ryan's taking great care of me. She's a delight. She says I'm low maintenance. She's one of the only people in the world that thinks I'm low maintenance. Need to introduce her to my wife, so my wife knows that there's somebody that thinks I'm low maintenance. At Edley's, on top of being a tremendous place to come and eat, bring in a business lunch, bring in the family, lunch, dinner, has a great app. So if you want to get on there, you can use the Edley's app. We know delivery fees have gotten out of control. I ordered a pizza the other night. God, you're pushing $30 to get a pizza to your house. Delivery apps are going to charge you extra for the same service. But if you use the Edley's app, they want you to feel like you're in the restaurant, and they want to lower your costs. They are not going to fleece you to get their food to your house. And so it'll make your barbecue experience as smooth as possible. Edley's Barbecue. Come eat at one of their many locations. If you can't make it, get their food to your location with the app that makes it smooth and isn't feeding one of these delivery apps ridiculous amount of money in fees and the like. Edley's Barbecue. Can you smell it? It's delicious. Don't miss out. You need to eat at Edley's this week. I have been making picks on this podcast, and I'm pretty proud of my 7-4 record. But here's what I'm going to do. I am going to show caution, and I honestly looked at the board this week and didn't see any game, not one game, that jumped out at me as, hey, this is a favorable pick. And so I'm going to show caution, and I'm going to be 7-4 next week also, and come back at you with something I think is worth making a play on. I would personally stay away. If somebody wants to throw a pick or two in the comments here that they feel hell-bent about, I will give it to you. Okay. I see what happened here. Okay. I've got a long clip here, but I think it is worth listening to. Joey Slye missed 2 kicks, obviously, 6 points worth of kicks in the 40-yard range. And Fassel said that the mechanics of these kicks were the same, that he planted his plant foot too open, and then his hips opened in a way where he pushed it, or his hips set in a way that he was open. This is a bit of a longer clip, but I think it tells us some of the psyche of a kicker, an operation of a kicker, who quite frankly is the most productive offensive player on the team. So let's hear what he had.
Once you kind of figure out the problem, then you got to kind of find out why it kind of came up. For me, I commit to a certain process, so a little bit of it is just trying to train what got me there in the first place, what made me think like this is the right positioning. I was in pregame going through my steps and was hitting well. Had a good week last week. So in the game, there was just a certain point where I felt like that was the right line, that was the right positioning, and obviously it wasn't. So kind of correcting that, figuring out, hey, I'm running a little bit wide, my track's a little bit left of center, and so resetting myself, kind of going back to my basics of things that I do in my warm-up. I do like a lot of kind of taps, make sure my ball contact's good, extensions, kind of my secondary stuff, and then we work on track. It's like a walking steps, and so from that I can kind of see if I'm going too wide of a plant, my shoulder's going to be closed. So at some point I got to open them up to get to the back of the ball, and so that was kind of the reasoning of the game where I'm kind of planting too wide. I'm opening my shoulder up just to get back to the ball. Looked at my track, realized how wide I was going, so reset all those things, got back to where my plant's supposed to be, set my shoulders well, and go from there, and started hitting well since then.
Sounds like you do a lot of it on a micro level. Are you compelled to hit more balls in a practice week when you're fixing something like that, or doing a lot of it on a micro level, do you not need to hit?
It depends on the kind of what happens with this one. Just based off of the positioning, I kind of do want to hit a little bit more balls just because you kind of want to get a feel of like what happened, or like feel what you were doing in the game and be like, hey, can I replicate that? And then can I obviously replicate the feel and positioning that I'm supposed to be in? So you might increase your balls a little bit. The best way to equate it to someone that may see it in a different sport, you see guys in golf all the time. Then they're playing on Thursday. You see them going back to the driving range Thursday night and just hitting and trying to figure out like, hey, why was my club face not square? Or how do I get my club face square? So that Friday when you go back out, you're able to make it to the weekend. So not to put the analogy to make it seem like for me to make it to the weekend, but essentially I'm trying to make sure that my position is good so I can hit Wednesday, Thursday, see where I'm at, and then Friday kind of dumb it down a little bit. Saturday take a chill pill, and then Sunday get it ready for pregame and go through my same process.
How many you hit in a usual week, and how many will you have hit this week? Do you not hit on Friday?
To be honest with you, I only really count like live ops as like hitting. I mean,
okay.
I know sticks is still work, but the attention to detail that you kind of lock into on a live rep is a little bit different than sticks. Sometimes you're kind of in like a a little bit more of a mindset of like work and trying to fix something out. But then when you get on like a live rep of snap, hold, kick, you're really trying to quiet all the things that.
But you count it as a live rep if you've got Morgan and
yeah. So I do that. So this week probably closer to 25-ish, 30 balls. A normal week probably closer to like 18 to 20. So just go more on a live rep just to get a feel and timing. But it's really making sure that you can take what you were working on sticks and stuff like that, bring it to a live rep, and then replicate it. So.
And you come out of it feeling whole.
Yeah. I mean, the best way to take it is if you hit a good ball and you know what you were doing, obviously you have a successful result. If you hit a bad ball, you end up missing. Understanding what you were trying to accomplish and the effect of what the ball did. If it misses left, it misses right, you kind of understand what happened. So also taking the misses, not just as like, I'm going to throw that out and not remember it. It's I'm going to remember exactly what I did on that one and know that because of my position was here, I can go ahead and fix it on the next one. So not getting too like discouraged if you end up missing one, just trying to figure out, every ball, maybe a step backwards, maybe 2 steps forward at the end of the day, and getting ready for Sunday. Make sure that you're confident going into your warm-up, and that's really all you're worried about. So
really informative. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
I thought pretty good from Joey Slye. I actually thought I was going to get a quick snippet of him about feeling better about things, and there he kind of talked us through his process in a way. Look, the Titans did have kickers through. Look, they have tryout people through every week, so that's no surprise. But it's not a coincidence that they had kickers through this week. Because if he has another bad week, then they're going to have to consider some things. Zane Gonzalez was through, Greg Joseph was through, Dustin Hopkins, not Dustin Hoffman, Dustin Hopkins and Matthew Wright. Greg Joseph was here with the Titans for 2 games in 2019. He did not try a field goal. He was 9 for 9 on extra points. 9 for 9 in 2 games on extra points. Guess what that means? The Titans scored 9 touchdowns in the 2 games that Greg Joseph was with the team. 63 points worth of touchdowns with no field goal attempts in 2 games. 63 points. Man, oh man, oh man. I mistakenly did not get to this as we talked about T'Vondre Sweat. Jeffrey Simmons obviously is a key figure in the development of T'Vondre Sweat, and I had a chance to ask Jeff about if he's able to have much chance to mentor Sweat while he's on IR, because IR guys are generally, away from the team during their time on IR. So here's Simmons on Sweat.
I mean, Sweat being in every meeting. He's in every meeting. He's here. I'm sure he's probably doing some rehab right now while we at practice and working his tail off to get back. So I'm doing everything I can to make sure I'm still being a vet to him and holding him accountable to make sure he sticks with his plan to, because when he's on the football field, he plays a big part of our defense, and I'm looking forward to getting him back, and hopefully he's doing and he will stick to his plan.
What are you expecting from him when he comes back?
To be him, to be ready to go and help us win football games.
Hopefully he will stick to his plan. Hopefully he will stick to his plan. Plan this week, let's see what some of you guys have to say. Good old days of scoring touchdown. Would I take the Titans at 0-17 for plus 150 or 3 wins plus 600? Look, I don't want to be responsible for anything that happens to your money, Logan. But I will say, through my entire time covering this team since 1996, and there have been some bad iterations of this team and some bad stretches of this team. There have been some mismatches where I thought they had no chance to win on a certain day. But generally speaking, I always allowed for the possibility that they could win. Something could happen. It's the NFL. I do not feel like that right now. I feel like they have I'm walking into a stadium to watch a team that will lose, that has no chance to win, that has shown me no reason to to have any faith in it winning. He made up the odds. But I think the Titans have a decent chance of being an 0-17 team right now, which is a very hard accomplishment. But there's no reason for them to – there's no reason to feel any confidence in them winning. Why didn't the Titans make a bigger deal? I mean, Jeff Simmons made a pretty big deal of it. I know a lot of – I should go back and look at it. I know there's a picture of Zeitler watching it happen, but a freeze-frame picture is not telling. I don't know exactly what Zeitler did. I'm hearing a lot of you telling me the offensive line did not react to it. And so if that's the case, that is not good. That's not good, and that's depressing for Cam, and that should be depressing for the team. Juan says, hopefully Tajay opens up the run game more. I wonder if we sign Deuce Vaughn. I don't know anything about Deuce Vaughn. Tajay, look, he's not that good. He's not that good. He was overdrafted. Another guy that was overdrafted. But he looked good in the preseason. He looked the best he's looked. Now, I don't know if the ankle's still an issue that's going to hold him back. I would think he's going to be on a pitch count. I do think he will play. But he gives them something extra. This short game and outlets have not done anything, really. The screen stuff has been terrible. And I think that he gives them something there that they don't have. He'll also give Pollard a degree of relief. Pollard's been overworked, and we're used to back being overworked with Derrick Henry, but this is not the same kind of guy. And Cam Ward is fired up about Spears' return.
Especially today, finally getting him back. It's going to be able to boost our offensive line just from what he can do, not obviously in the running game, but just in the check down game, giving him the ball in space, little couple plays for him. But I'm excited to have him back. I've been waiting to play with Tajay, so I'm ready. I know he's ready to go show off.
Look, take any X factor, wild card, new ingredient that you can get. Fassel was great this week, but one of the things that Fassel said is, we're not playing with our full roster, and you have to wonder what happens with this team when you get Latham back and when you get Sweat back and all of that, which is fine. But, if you're waiting for a fully healthy team to be out there, well, I hate to break it to you, but when Latham's back and when Sweat's back, odds are somebody else is going to be out. Now, you hope the guys that fall out are not as big of pieces. But rare is the NFL team that is starting its entire opening day lineup for many games in a row. Now, if you're a talented team and you have that, a lot of teams look back and say, wow, our healthiness this season really was a reason that we were able to win the Super Bowl. So got that going for you. If you're a good team and a healthy team, those are usually good things. Titans are a bad team. They need to be a healthy team because their depth is piss poor. But their front line isn't very good either. Do I agree? Well, Big Tom asks, do I agree that Cam looks like a better quarterback than Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, despite these silly numbers comparisons making the rounds? I think those numbers are misleading. Cam's presence and Cam's good plays, to me, certainly suggests that he's going to be a better quarterback than Will Levis or Mason Rudolph. He has not made nearly the super stupid plays that Will Levis had made at this stage of last season, and Will Levis was in his second season. So, look, I think there are a lot of constraints on Cam, and I don't think he's played nearly well enough. But I I'm confident at this point that Cam Ward's going to turn out to be a pretty good NFL quarterback, and it's going to take a good while for me to move off of that. And I think for a lot of smart people that cover the team. Ben Jones apparently, Big Tom said that they couldn't see, the offensive line couldn't see Cam get hit that way. I love the way Ben Jones and Brett Kern have been anointed now spokesman for everything Titans. Howie says, I've been mulling this. Is a defensive head coach with a solid OC under him the best structure? Seems like the Titans' best coaches had this structure, Fisher and Vrabel. I see a trend league-wide, too. The thing is, the danger is that your OC is good and he gets hired away as a head coach. Because plenty of teams still want to hire an offensive young, bright offensive mind as their head coach. Now, we may have used all of those guys up in the last couple hiring cycles. And I think Robert Saleh and now I'm going to forget, Brian Flores, may be two of the most attractive head coaching candidates out there. Second chance guys, defensive guys who are running defenses that are playing pretty damn well. What can they bring you as an offensive coordinator? And what would their succession plan pattern be? Maybe this thing is slowed down in terms of losing your offensive coordinator, but it would concern me based on what happened with Vrabel in terms of he lost LaFleur, who was not great even. So he didn't even have the benefit of getting to the good LaFleur. He lost Arthur Smith, and then he had Downing and Kelly, who were not good. And so, maybe I put too much into that, but I think it's a little bit of a dangerous formula. But I think first and foremost, you have to worry about the head coach before you worry about the coordinator. And I think they're going to want a head coach who's got head coaching experience. And those two guys have head coaching experience. I've mentioned this a couple times. I would think Amy Adams Strunk, who doesn't know that many people, would include Jim Schwartz and Arthur Smith in interviews because she knows Jim Schwartz and Arthur Smith. I'm not saying they're getting a job, but Gabe says, is it Bo, Nick, and Callie coming up with the offensive plan? Bo, Nick, Callie, McCoy, and then all the position coaches are in it that have some say so. But yeah, it's the offensive staff, and the top of the offensive staff is Callie. I'd say Callie, number one. Bo, number two, because he's calling the plays now. And Holtz and McCoy. Garrett says Latham's still not practicing. Probably will be limited again next week. Best case. Is it best just to put him on IR now and have him 100% for the second half of the season? First off, I don't know why you presume limited next week. Guys who are limited have target dates, and he could absolutely emerge next Wednesday and practice fully and be ready to go. Also, this obsession with putting guys on IR, like he's had now week 2, week 3, week 4, and he'll have week 5. So he will have had the equivalent of time on IR. Now, some people are just huffy, like, oh, those 4 weeks should have been spent on IR. Like he would heal better on IR than he would heal off of IR when he's doing the exact same rehab stuff that he would do on or off IR. And IR is largely a matter of whether you need the roster spot or you don't need the roster spot. They probably thought he had a chance to come back in 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And there's no desperation for the roster spot because it's easy to scratch him on Sunday, and it doesn't have any bearing on their roster decisions on a weekend. You put him on IR now, he's out a guaranteed another 4 weeks. Well, if he's ready next week or the week after, why would you want him out another guaranteed 4 weeks? Like you're tacking extra time on when they've already maybe tacked the extra time on. Just it's crazy. They're terrified, Josh said, if they go aggressive, that Cam will get killed back there. But I agree, nothing to lose at this point. I mean, there are quick plays that go downfield. Not everything has to be long and slow development. Talking with Easton Freeze about this, some of their quick stuff seems to be slow developing quick stuff. Let's see quick stuff that's actually quick. Talk about getting the ball in playmakers' hands. It doesn't seem like they get the ball in the playmakers' hands quickly enough. I think they could do much better at that. Cody, might be a dumb question, but is covering a bad team better for my work? Could see fans being desperate for answers with a bad team and not as curious with a good team. Am I wrong? Look, it would be good for my work if this team cycled, right? So, when they're bad and it's, a year or two of badness, then people would be curious about it. And then, they got good. Hey, tell me about how this team's dug out of it and got good, and let's enjoy the ride of them being good. And then, playoff run, terrific. And then level off and everything. If there was a general wave, I think that would probably be best for my business. It is not good for my business right now that this team is this bad, because there is at least there is a segment of the population that's just done and tuning out, and that is not good. That is not good for my business. Ryan sees Kyle Shanahan work wonders with career backups and third stringers. Yeah, it is somewhat frustrating seeing Mac Jones lighting things up. Well, he looks like he's about to die. I don't know if he's lighting things up. I didn't watch that game. I watched the Yankee game, but play well enough for them to score 26 points and win a game with a defensive stop at the end. It's not what the Titans would do with Allen at quarterback, right? Average attempt for Slye is 47 yards and 14 kicks. Made kicks are 44 yards per attempt, 10 kicks. Missed kicks are 53. One of those blocked. 53 average, 4. One of those blocked. Folk has made all 7 with the average of 46 per attempt. I think you're comparing apples and oranges. Folk is not hitting 60 whatever that Slye has hit. So, I mean, and Slye was blocked from none of his own doing on one of them. So if you're saying they should have Folk instead of Slye, I think that's a hard argument to make. And I think the stats you're providing here, practical place, aren't the ones I want to know. What are the 4 longest attempts that Folk has made this year versus the 4 longest attempts that Slye has made? That's what I would want to know. Tighten up. Yes, I do think Spears will play on Sunday. I would think he'd have a pitch count, 12, 15, 17 snaps, something like that. Why didn't the Titans run pick plays? Why don't the Titans run pick plays like the Rams and the Niners do? I don't know. No. I think they've got to have them in there. They don't get to them. They call them. They don't work. They're not a foundational piece of the Callahan philosophy. So they should be based on how well they work for other people. What is worse, this team or my old ESPN boss? I mean, I didn't really have a direct boss at ESPN who I had any issues with. I had a middle manager who was awful, who's not at ESPN anymore. And I did have like my final direct report boss, I didn't think was very good. And he was a man of no courage because when they decided not to renew my contract, he went and hid. Josh says, if they go offensive coordinator, can we at least get a guy who's called plays before this time? Yeah, I wouldn't. I think there are some limitations on what they can do. And going offensive coordinator again, like I don't think they will go offensive coordinator again. I think they just take a beating for it. I think they've got to hire somebody who's got experience. They can't hire inexperience twice in a row, even if this inexperience is called plays before. They need a head coach who's been a head coach, I think. Jabari says, I think if you err on a first-time coach, go offense. Offense, you need some experience. Yeah. Well, you can't. Josh says Mike McDaniel as OC with the defensive head coach would be goals. You can't start with the coordinator. You have to start with the head coach. But Mike McDaniel as offensive coordinator would be pretty terrific. The league is trending back to running 12 personnel. They're certainly trending back to 12 personnel. And when I put together, I hope you read it at paulkuharsky.com, a combined Wisenhunt Callahan team, one of the striking things was on that team how key it would be to have Delaney Walker and Craig Stevens. And that would be a core strength of that team. And that would fly pretty well in the league now and what people are doing. Tall Texan said, I thought you were a let's see it guy. Cam has shown absolutely nothing to say he'll be a good quarterback. I am a let's see it guy. But Titans don't have anything. And what I see of the work ethic at practice and what I saw in training camp, I'm not going to bash Cam Ward. He's 4 games into his career. He looks to me to have the skill set and the mind set to be a successful guy, which is the same thing, by the way, that I said of Marcus Mariota early, who turned out not to have those qualities. But at this stage, Cam Ward appears to be promising. He's not playing well enough, and the Titans don't have enough around him. These things are clearly in evidence. But I think it's hard to say to a rookie quarterback, let's see it, when he's under constant rush, when his coaching is in question, and when his number one receiver drops everything. I do need to see more. It's not playing well enough, period. But the jury does not come in on a rookie quarterback after 4 games. PaulKuharsky.com is really the best place to read about the Titans. You got most opinionated, insightful, and connected guy on the team. That would be me. I'm not going to be shy here. But you've also got great insight from Blake Bedingfield, who scouted the team for 19 years and had a big hand in Derrick Henry being drafted. He offers a review of the game on Monday that you're not going to get anywhere else from a scouting perspective. On Wednesday, Drew Beatty gives you a big scouting tape review of somebody. This last week, it was Jeffrey Simmons, biggest bright point on this team. Looked closely at what Simmons has been doing. Mike Herndon still has a piece coming on Cedric Gray this week. He's one of the best analytical minds, I think, around the country. And Braden Gall, as I said, is writing some draft stuff already. So we get a look at who the Titans are going to be looking at. And it's a big time for them because this next draft is going to be massive. Whether they're drafting first, second, third, trading out of that because people want a quarterback and really addressing edge rusher, receiver, cornerback, the places they need to find blue chip players that are going to transform this team. $750 a month, it's nothing. Send you notifications about these podcasts, now 3 a week. well attended, seemed very popular. Come join us, support independent journalism on this team, holding them to task, asking all the right questions. Appreciate your support. A lot of people in here are regulars. They will tell you it's well worth the money. No, I do not chosen think that Callahan will be fired after Arizona. My answer is going to be no on a regular basis, unless something crazy dramatic happens. This guy says he still doesn't think Callahan was the Titans' first choice. I don't know why that's important. Roy Williams was like the 8th choice at Kansas. And then you don't always get your first choice. There's no objection to Brian Callahan's resume coming in. Other teams liked him. He was one of the hot prospects coming in to that hiring cycle. Now, it hasn't panned out. It's a very Titans-like thing to not get a guy that doesn't pan out. John says, I don't think it's a reach for Bones to be interim head coach if Callahan is fired, but you eventually need a successor for special teams coach, or at least an assistant to take over on an interim basis. Well, Renee Stewart is the assistant. The question is he ready to be the chief manager of special teams if Fassel is head coach of the team? Jack Shepard says, John, go back and listen to the sweat stuff from earlier. Why can't I get Jack Shepard? PK is the therapist we all need for these losers. Appreciate the compliment. I appreciate all of you. It's always great to talk to all of you. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks, and I will see you after I send you a text that it's coming from the press box in Arizona after the Titans do what they do on Sunday. Have a great weekend, everybody. I appreciate you very much.